Hi, and welcome to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast presented by Wolf Precision Incorporated, where we learn about and share long range shooting and custom rifle building. I am your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. So, welcome to our very first episode, and we are glad that you have joined us. The show, we want to give you a little brief summary on what to expect in upcoming and future podcasts, as well as, some background about who we are, where we come from, and the things that we want to talk about at the show. So right out of the gate, we love the art of long-range shooting. We own and teach one of the oldest shooting schools east of the Mississippi. And so everything near and dear to us when it comes to the art of what we do is a great subject to talk about. Not only are we going to talk about these subjects, but we're hopefully going to interview lots of great people in the field, in the industry, the people that are involved about maintaining and pushing our sport forward. So to give you a little idea about some of the topics that we're going to talk a lot about when it comes to long-range shooting, of course, we're going to talk a lot about proper equipment to get started. We're going to talk about scopes, rings, and bases, triggers and stocks, calibers and caliber selections, recoil and recoil management, muzzle brakes, and a really important and near and dear topic to me that we're going to be discussing here very shortly in an upcoming episode is dope for your rifle. Now, for those of you that don't know what DOPE stands for Data of Previous Engagements. And so this is a subject right now that I think needs to be spent some time on talking and really explaining to shooters, what you're looking for and the different options that people are using out there. And so I do want to take a couple minutes and talk a little bit about DOPE and some perspectives for it. We're in a day and age, and we were just talking to some people, and they were talking about, quote unquote, their shooting system. And so we're in an industry now to where everybody involved in long-range shooting is coming up with a quote-unquote shooting system, a way to maybe fast-track the customer a little bit faster down the line to get them out shooting further with a little bit more efficiency and maybe a little bit quicker. The problem with the shooting systems is the fact that you're only bypassing one step as a shooter. So getting true dope for your rifle, I personally believe, is something that you should learn how to do. And it's something that you as a shooter should get. So the moment you rely on technology, that's when it's going to fail you. So I can give you great examples of, people we've gone and shot matches with that had dope in a PDA, for example. And through the first day of the match, his PDA got crushed. And he didn't have a hard copy of his dope with him. So at that particular match, I had a personal spotter for the remaining 2 days of the match. That was great. And we're seeing it more and more now than ever. So we've been to lots of great matches over the last year or two. We see them coming to the shooting school all the time. And whether they're in an instrument that they're holding, a weather instrument, or whether they're an app on their computer, you're seeing a lot of people coming in with these systems. And they have problems. So I'll give you a couple examples. I do want to talk about this a little bit in this podcast, but we're going to really dig in deep in an upcoming podcast. So some problems with dope for a rifle right out of the gate. If you've ever talked to somebody that's made a trip to, for example, the gun store. So we have a little gun store close to us here. I have a good friend of mine that buzzes down there all the time for this, that, and the other thing. Well, he made that trip in one time in 10 minutes. Now, it really does take 15 minutes to drive to this place, but he did it one time in 10 minutes because the stars aligned and he had every green light on the way there. So now that he's done it in 10 minutes, he is convinced that every trip to the gun store should only take 10 minutes. Well, the same thing happens with a lot of these programs that are out there. So you go to a particular match, the stars line up, and it runs true. You start hitting everything. You are sold. The next 9 matches you go and shoot, you're missing high and low. Your dope is not right. But you are absolutely convinced that it's not the system, that there's something else going on because it worked before. And so we see it now a lot of times here at the school. We have a couple guest instructors that have really bought heavily into some of these programs. And, we all agree to disagree on some things that we hold near and dear. But after about a dozen or 2 dozen trips, and, they're constantly trying to figure out, what's going on and how to correct it and why is it off this day and that day. I think they finally convinced themselves that there's nothing better than having just good old dope for your rifle. And a couple matches we went to this year. Give you one more quick example. We had a gentleman that was shooting the match and really having a bad first day, shooting high and low over everything again. And just ask him, hey, do you have working dope for your rifle? And he's like, no, I just have this app. And I was like, hey, let's start writing some dope down. And so by the end of the second and third day, he was hitting lots of things. So you see this system where, to maybe explain it to you a little bit better, they're coming up with a way saying, hey, look, I know how to do math. I know 2 + 2 is 4. Why do I want to do dope? So, I'm just going to let the computer do the math, and I'm just going to do what it says. Another example would be the bullet drop compensating turrets, or BDC turrets, that you'll see on a lot of the hunting rifles out there, that you just turn it to 700 yards on the dial, and you're just going to magically hit everything you shoot at. It just doesn't work that way. And I really do believe the industry is doing the shooters a very big disservice by making these things, because really there's only one more step in the learning curve for you to figure out how to do this yourself. Now, it's a great asset, and it's a great thing to refer to, and it's a great backup plan, but it's really not necessary. You're running a marathon and you're within a mile of the finish line. You know where it's at. Just finish that last mile and finish that learning curve, and you will come out the other end a better shooter for it. Now, we're also going to get into custom rifle building, and this is a subject that, of course, is near and dear to me. We build rifles here with what we call the patented rifle chamber cylinder, and so our chambers are made separate of the barrel. If you've never seen this before, just go to our website. It's www.wolfprecision.net and check us out there. Come to a show and talk with us. But we created this to deal with some issues when it comes to building custom rifles. And there are lots of things to actually talk about that are worthwhile to both you, the shooter, you, the potential customer looking to build a great custom rifle, or the gunsmith or the hobby builder. So there's lots of great things that we can talk about. One of the things that's going to be coming up in a very near episode is going to be a subject called the curvature of the rifle bore. And you heard that right, curvature of the bore. So if you take a rifle barrel, 20 inches, 26 inches long, whatever, the lands and grooves inside that barrel are bowed. They have a little bit of an arc to them. If you spun that barrel, if you could see the lands and grooves inside, it would look like a jump rope. Now, some barrels are worse than others. Some manufacturers have more of an issue than others. But make no mistake about it, it's an issue that's in all of the barrels. Most shooters don't realize this exists. And probably the main reason is there's no fix for it. This is an issue that the industry's known about for a long time, but nobody really knows how to correct it. So that becomes an issue for you, the shooter. It has an issue with the accuracy of the rifle. It has an issue with cutting a perfectly straight throat in the barrel. And that's where the rifle chamber cylinder came into to being, was trying to correct the curvature of the bore issues on the chamber end. But then it also has an issue on the other end of the barrel. It has an issue even with your dope. So we're going to talk about the curvature of the bore. We're going to be spending a fair amount of time talking about the components of a rifle build. But if you're out there and you're getting ready to build a custom rifle, there's lots of things to talk about when you're getting ready to do this. They're a big investment. So why not arm yourself with as much knowledge as you can get so you can make the best purchase that you can make? For example, you go to any shooting range, you go to any competition, and you put 6 custom rifles up on the firing line. And you can walk down the line and you can say, oh man, hey, these rifles, they look fantastic. Well, they all do from the outside. But you as the shooter, you have no way to gauge the quality of the actual rifle itself on the inside. You don't know the quality of the action. You don't know how straight the bolt bore raceway is to the bolt face, or how straight that is to the face of the action. You don't know if one lug is touching or 2 lugs with the bolt. You don't know, is there any damage to the chamber? Has the throat been cut crooked? Is there chatter in the chamber? Is there damage in the throat? Has the crown been cut concentric? Is there any damage to the crown itself? the problem with these rifles, they all look the same from the outside. You can't use that as a way to judge the quality of the rifle, though, because you have no way of looking and measuring or validating any of the quality of the work that was done to build it. For example, I just got off the phone yesterday. We were speaking with a gunsmith who builds a fair amount of PRS-type rifles, and he was really, 10 minutes complaining about the actions that they're getting in anymore and the issues they're running into, and the fact that, they're spending, $1,000, $1,300 for these actions, and they're coming in wrong. They're coming in with damage. They're coming in with lugs not touching. They're coming in, just this laundry list of things that the builder that you're hiring to build this rifle has to deal with to give you a quality shooting rifle. So he has to either send the parts back and argue with the manufacturer and say, hey, look, I know what I'm talking about. This isn't right. And then the manufacturers come back and say, well, that's how everybody else likes it and nobody else is complaining about it. You got that whole deal. Then you got gunsmiths like myself where years ago, I used to just take the time and fix the action. So here I am taking a $1,300 or $1,400 action, and I'm actually working on it to make sure that it's straight before I build the rifle, because I want to make sure that the end customer that gets the rifle gets a great shooting rifle. The continuation of that story is that a lot of times the gunsmith doesn't share with the customer everything he went through to get that rifle built, to get it to you. So he's not going to share with you all these issues that he found. I didn't share with my customer that the fact that I had to fix this custom action to get the lugs to draw in correctly so it had good contact on locking lugs to get his rifle to shoot properly. Really, the customer just doesn't know, and the gunsmith really doesn't share that information. So, our goal here at the show is to deal a lot with both the long-range shooting aspect of it. We want to get into the custom rifle gunsmithing or the custom rifle aspect of it. And we want to take time to talk to a lot of people in the industry, to ask them the questions, to get you the answers, to make educated decisions. So we're going to bring on guests, and we're going to bring on some people to interview throughout the year. Everybody involved in, barrels and actions and triggers. And so what we would like to ask you, the listeners out there, is, if you have an idea of someone you would like us to interview or bring on the podcast, send us an email. If you have a subject that you would like to hear us talk about, send us an email. Give us a call here. We're more than glad to take some feedback and some subjects that might be of interest to you. But in essence, this is something I've been looking to do for a long time. It's a great format for me to take some time to really talk about things that are passionate to me and near and dear, things that I've learned over the many, many years of long-range shooting and building custom rifles that, we can give to you, the customer, or you, the listener, so you can go out and really just enjoy the art of all that we do. Also, I just wanted to say thank you for joining us. The first podcast is going to be a little bit short. There's no sense in rambling on about what we're going to do. Our next podcast will be out shortly. Our goal is to have between 2 and 4 podcasts a month up once we get running. And so just keep an eye out for our next coming episodes. Also, please feel free to join us on Facebook, Instagram. We do have a YouTube channel as well. You're more than welcome to join us there and check that stuff out. So again, thank you for listening to us. Hope you like the show. Please feel free to follow us on here. Keep an eye out for upcoming episodes. And we are looking forward to just sharing with you a lot of great information here in the future. So thank you for listening and joining.